You talked and I listened. I am the Game Collector and this is Second Opinion Games, and today I'm gonna count down the top 10 fan favorites for the NES. Now, I'm not actually going to put these in any particular order. These are the ones that you guys out there said that this is the game that you liked. What do I mean by fan favorites? I mean, it doesn't make pretty much anyone's top 10s, but these are hidden gems or games that you guys felt were underrated, and these are the ones that you guys suggested that I take a look at. So, here it is.
Second Opinion Games.
Legendary Wings. It's a game that you could pretty much only beat if you have turbo buttons, otherwise you're going to end up with horrible blisters on your hands. You have to have lightning fast reflexes because the bullets are going to come at you fast and so are the enemies. Occasionally you could get sucked into a tunnel that are bad or really good, in which case you'll get pretty lucky and find quite a bit of power-ups and maybe even some continues. The bosses here range from dragons to giant mechanized beasts, and when I had this as a kid, I had it all wrong. I thought it took place way in the past, but no, it takes place 20,000 years into the future where robots roam the earth and you had to build robotic wings yourself to take up the fight. This is actually a pretty fun game, and I did manage to beat this one when I was a kid, but it really wasn't easy. The Guardian Legend. This one starts out as a pretty cool spaceship shooter where it moves way too fast. And then all of a sudden things take a bit of a weird Zelda-like twist where then you have to run and explore and find where the next mission is. When you get to that point, you jump back into your spaceship and you fight more things. Rinse, cycle, repeat. If you manage to beat this game, it will give you a code that you could play the whole game as the spaceship shooter, but you know what? I like those levels in between. They really help mix things up, and there's tons of power-ups and different things to collect throughout the entire game. This is truly one of the greats, and one time shared a commercial with another game. Battle of Olympus. This is a very well done version of Zelda 2. Matter of fact, it pretty much tops it in every conceivable way. The world here is unbelievably huge, so you're going to need some really good guides or hopefully a map and maybe a subscription to Nintendo Power. There are quite a few different weapons to choose from, swords that have different power-ups, and a club that lets you shoot fire. Everything is on a 2D plane here. Occasionally you could call for a dolphin to back you up, and I'm pretty sure the end enemy of the entire game is Dark Link. I mean, Dark whatever you decide to name yourself in this game, because you get to choose everyone's names, and you'll have a lot of fun exploring the ancient Greek side of things. Shatterhand. Your punch has the force of 100 strategic missiles. Well, that's what the back of the box said, and you know what? I think they were over-exaggerating by just a little bit. But this is a really cool game where you could buy different power-ups and unlock them as time moves on. Also, you could buy health refills, and when you punch things, coins blow out of them, just like some other games. The graphics here are actually really well done, and even though you have a short-range fist as your main weapon, it never seems to hold you back too much. I'm actually surprised how good and fluid this whole game actually plays, and it's one that I'm probably going to keep coming back to again and again. I found it really fun, and I just love the overall art style. It's simply a must-have. Kid Cool. Now, graphic-wise, this is actually on a very, very low end. However, speed-wise, you could run faster than Sonic the Hedgehog. Not that that's a good thing, because you have one-hit kills, unless, of course, you find this bird that you could throw as your main weapon. It does manage to come back to you, and is very, very useful. But if you get hit, you lose the bird. And then, if you get hit again, back to the one-hit kills, and you're dead. And you'll probably die falling into pits because even jumping seems to be a challenge here. You have to really build up your momentum to have any sort of control, and your momentum is often way too fast. Now I could clearly see how addictive this game can play. Everything is very bright, and I really like the concept of throwing the object and having it come back to you. But the controls just seem a little stale, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to keep trying. Wrath of the Black Manta. Or is it Purple Manta? Because, I mean, he is really, really purple. Your character is kind of a large sprite for the NES, throwing ninja stars and also working some ninja magic. As you progress through the game, you could be flying on a kite and shooting fireballs at your enemies. Also, there's a pretty cool ninja magic thing that I like, where you create a shadow double of yourself, which you'll need to fight the very first boss of the game, Tiny, who also happened to be the largest boss I've ever seen at this point in time in my life. It was massive, covering up the whole screen. As a kid, I was horrified by this. But you know what? This actually became one of my favorite games. I used to return to it every year just to beat it again and again, and I loved it. The only complaint is that your guy's still very purple. Shadow of the Ninja. Coming out in late 1990 and made by Natsume, this is pretty much a better version than Ninja Gaiden. The graphics look a lot clearer. Your sword swipe feels very satisfying. Maybe not as satisfying as Strider, but then again, what game is? And there is decent power-ups spread throughout. The whole game actually feels tight and plays kind of like Batman to me. And I mean that in the best possible way. This might actually be one of the best ninja games I've ever played in my entire life. And I even mean current game systems today, which is a lot for something that an 8-bit system did back in 1990. If you don't have this one, I strongly recommend you add it to your collection immediately. Karna. When one of the villains from the video game's Bad Dudes gets his own game, I immediately thought it was gonna suck really, really bad. But you know what? It ended up being closer to a run-and-gun Contra style. Every once in a while, you have to stop and just keep on firing, because nothing really dies in one hit here. There is also plenty of different power-ups spread all throughout the game. Even weird ladders that you could kind of place wherever you want, and different types of bombs or speed shoes, just a whole lot of options here. And 2-hit kills. You could turn gray when you get hit, and then a second time, you're dead. The game actually feels really, really good and doesn't feel like it's made by Russian hackers at all. Well, thankfully. Little Nemo. I remember Nintendo Power used to hype this game non-freaking stop. You play as a little boy that just goes to sleep and fights demons and whatnot in his dreams. You have to collect so many keys to open up a door at the end of the level. If you happen to miss some of those keys, well, then you're going to be backtracking quite a bit, feeding candies to different types of creatures throughout the level to then take control of them, whether it be frogs, sloths, or many other things. The game does get very creative, but it's more of a hide-and-seek game. And honestly, I've never been big on these things where you have to explore every inch of the level. I like more of a Mario way of doing things, where if you want to explore, you can. And if you don't want to, well, you don't have to. That's really where I think this game falls short. However, it doesn't stop it from being an excellent game, and is certainly one that pretty much everyone will love. And my favorite one on this list, totally rad. Now, believe it or not, I didn't even know I had this game in my collection, but there it was sitting next to Rad Racer. I wonder why I freaking did that. I probably thought they were the same game and just never looked back on it. And when I started playing it, boy, was I ever surprised what I freaking missed out on. There's real parallax scrolling here, and it took me a while, but eventually I figured out that there's also a crazy magic system that is pretty much completely unlocked from the start of the game. Heck, you could actually transform your main character into something entirely different and fly through most of the levels. And then, different levels are actually designed to prevent you from just flying over everything and missing the entire world. This is ingenious. Also, there is magic to refuel your health, which I thought was pretty innovative. This is simply one of the best games I've ever played on the NES, and I completely missed it for all these years. So thank you, everyone out there on the internet that strongly suggested it. Now I do want to throw out a couple special shout-outs to some other games, like Willow, which is sort of RPG-ish, I just couldn't get very much into it, and 3D World Runner, which I often really like, and Faxanadu, which also, it just wasn't for me, but I know a lot of everyone else really loves it out there. And maybe even Samurai Pizza Cats, which I couldn't find for myself. I'm pretty sure that's a Famicom game, though. So this is one of the weird times where I get to say thanks to everyone suggested all these games. And though there is a little bit of my opinion in there, well, this one's pretty much all your opinion. So, thanks for watching.